This is live. Okay, and so we are now live, and we are, this is MT Keshe, and the Iranian physicist who is now living in Italy, and myself, Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and Mike Harris, a well-known radio talk show host, and behind on the screen I've had Keshe's website, which is the Keshe Foundation. So so people can also go, the ones who are listening to this and not familiar already with MT Keshe. I've done a number of live stream interviews with him, and I think he's certainly gotten out to the public in other ways. I think on your show as well, Mike.
Yes, he has.
We are doing this broadcast right now because we got word that Keshe is having some issues. They are still trying to, well, there are attempts on his life, on his family, and we simply want to go public here to make the public aware of what's going on, so that they know, whoever are the people that are doing this, that that this is public knowledge, and that you know, if you make attempts on a man's life, in this case, then there must be something behind what he says. In other words, this further substantiates all of the claims that Keshe has made over the years. And what I did was I did put on my website, on the post, the links you sent me, Keshe, so that people could view those YouTube videos. So do you want to talk about some of your latest experiences first in terms of the attacks, and then let's get into what new information you're coming forward with?
Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you could be or wherever you are. We have open situation at the moment where what some people would like to say, silencing scientists for the advantage of those who would like to benefit by their discoveries and their work. This is part of the process we have been explaining for a long time, and this is where we stand at the moment.
Okay. Do you want to describe what has been happening in any detail for the listeners? Perhaps there are some people out there who can even come forward and attempt to protect you. You are in Italy. Is there any description in more detail that you can give them as to your attackers or how this is transpiring?
What has happened is, fundamentally, we left Belgium through harassment and attack on me and more or less on my family. And we literally left Belgium with 3 suitcases, as a lot of people know, about nearly 2 years ago, 18, 20 months ago. We settled in Italy, carrying on with the rest of our work, as usual, as a research and development in space technology. And we established what I call a teaching program, what we call knowledge seekers, to transfer the knowledge to others, and at the same time, we started a teaching program, teaching live on live stream with knowledge seekers, courses or sessions. And we accepted certain knowledge seekers to join us, some 8 of them. And in the process, what we assume, and what not assuming, but what we see, is one of the knowledge seekers was more or less employed by the Belgian authorities to poison. And what we have shockingly come to understand in past 24 hours is that this gentleman, according to himself, to the knowledge seekers, has a terrorist record, being kicked out of South African nation for terrorist activities on behalf of the Belgian government. So, according to him, that's his word. So we brought in a bee in the nest, and we just received the blood test for the hair and tissue of the nail and my mustache and the body hair tested in Germany, independent laboratory. The result came in yesterday or the day before. And according to the doctor who was sitting right in front of me, who diagnosed the original poisoning, I should be growing nuclear reactor. I've been poisoned with heavy metals. Now we have data. A huge amount of materials have been transferred in a way that a normal person doesn't consume these kind of things. It shows in the body mass. And strange enough, these gentlemen from Belgium has cleared his table before anybody knows, and the day before the last, teaching, decided to return back to Belgium for a week holiday, and that day my wife got poisoned heavily, very badly, and more or less the papers were at the position where he was sitting. And these papers out of nowhere I was using to write and teaching on the live camera. And strange enough, when we checked the lab, after 8 months of being in the lab, there is nothing left. So they probably knew they'd never come back. Indications are heavy that we don't know even the name is real, what we have on our list, that he is. But there are a lot of indication and activities which do not comply with the international rules of people who are in this position. And why a person has to declare himself as a terrorist to other knowledge seekers is a surprise to us. But anyway, the blood results, or what they call it, the sample results, shows large amount of heavy metals, which then they use systems which is available only to one company known as IMAC in Belgium. And strange enough, the guy told us that his son-in-law works for IMAC of Belgium. So it was well infiltrated in the structure of the company for the students. We will take action in due course, but as I always say, we pray for the soul of these people. And these people need, if they claim themselves to be a terrorist and then they plant it here, it goes back again deep into the position where we have, and we have had with the King of Belgium for a long time. Now we have a physical evidence of poisoning of a very large quantity. It's a technique used, and the gentleman, we have witnesses declaring himself as a terrorist. We have no doubt who he is, and you don't clear your table, your facilities in the lab without anybody knowing and making up boxes that there are things in the box. So he knows who he is. We don't mention a name, but as what we stand and where we stand, clearly Belgians have infiltrated us. So from now on, we don't allow any Belgians in the territory of the teaching. And secondly, this is not the first time that this attempt has been on my life. If it wasn't because of Dr. Elie, we would have been all, me and my wife, most probably dead by now. Because the dosage of poison is horrendously high, extremely high. We're talking about 4 times normal in some materials. And this must have been digested. So what was puzzling for me, I was explaining this afternoon, is that every time we finished with the session, this gentleman wanted to stay behind upstairs in the teaching room, pretending to be working. And now we understand what he's done, but I bless his soul. I hope he finds peace with himself and peace with his children. As I say, when you give a gift and it's not wanted, it's returned back to the sender. And he sent me wish of death on my family, and he's got children and family himself. I would like what the history makes about him, how him and his children will go through the painful life, what is caused the pain for me, my child. And strange enough, another knowledge seeker has been affected, who's been on the environment of the, poison area. And we had a child and 2 adults who were here during the poisoning when Caroline was poisoned, and they've shown the same symptoms back in Belgium. after they arrived, the day after they arrived in Belgium, and they're on the, what do you call it, we're going through the same process of, what do you call it, treatment as us, so it's not imagination. Now there are 7 people contaminated, what do you call it, affected with this position.
Okay.
So that's where we are.
Thank you, Keshe. And I just want to say that Mike Harris has been dropped off the call. We're going to try to get him back on. I'm afraid we're having some difficulty. He's having some interference at his end, and I'm not sure why. So if you'll bear with us here, I will try to get him online here. So one moment here.
No problem. Oh, he's back on.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
Mike, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Carrie. I can see you now. Let me try the video, see if it slows us down, or if it slows us down too much, I'll just go with the regular photo, so I don't
That's
interrupt
fine.
the podcast.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Let's try this. I'm not as pretty as you are. Nobody cares to see me.
Thank you. Okay, Keshe, at this moment, how is your wife, and how are the people that have been infected by the poison? Can you describe that a bit? And then could you also, I don't know, are you able to say the composition of the poison in any detail?
Because I have Dr. Elia Kusaba in front of me. She's the doctor who has now joined the foundation. She recognized the poisoning through what was going on through the teachings where we were teaching during the live stream teachings of the foundation. And she diagnosed that this is an arsenic poisoning. Uh-huh. My wife has been treated for belladonna poisoning. He has laced the papers with belladonna, and where we do the children teaching, he has laced, because I use children toys to explain the technology of the plasma. He has poisoned the toys which the children are in the teaching room, and my child has touched the toy. Oh, and he's got these people have grandchildren and children themselves. So the poisoning has been deliberate, and by accident, one of the knowledge seekers last week going up to take something from the same basket, he has touched it, and he's showing the same symptoms on my wife. So this is a deliberate attack. We will ask for the authorities for his arrest. The material we have started moving the things with the Italian police authorities. He's just packed his bags and disappeared back to Belgium. He's gone back to Nest to get the protection from the king. The position is that, as being an Iranian citizen, we will ask the Iranian courts to issue a warrant for his arrest internationally for attempted murder. And once this is issued by the Iranian authorities in the coming weeks, this will then be extracted, this gentleman will be extracted through Interpol back to Iran for criminal presentation. And then we have to see, and as I said, by Iranian or premeditated murder is execution. Then he has to stand his own ground, because I'm an Iranian national, and we will take steps to Italian criminal courts for his arrest and his family, because his wife is involved most probably in the same position. And we will see what happens. Now we have a very clear evidence. You don't leave a teaching grounds without saying goodbye, without anything, because he knew that they were 100% sure that I will die. But unfortunately, the second mixture of belladonna was touched by my wife. And she came from the teaching room and she said she doesn't feel good. She's been taken to the emergency hospital twice. And we are even written to somebody who Mike Harris knows. He sent me an email with a recording about Caroline, which is my wife. And I wrote, I have a wife by tomorrow morning, and my child has a mother. this is a criminal act by this gentleman. So it is well organized. It cannot be done without the bless you.
Bless you.
This cannot be done without the permission of the or support of the certain number of people in the Italian organizations in the government too, because we are under their protection. The situation goes back to Mr. Hans Brackenier sitting at the head of the European Space Agency. He's the man who has instigated the murder. He sits at the highest level in the European agency. We have released his name before. We have asked for the court of Belgium to look at these murdering scientists. Now, how he's got to the head of the I advise American intelligence to make sure this gentleman does not get hold of the file of the American scientist, because his job is murdering people if he doesn't get it. He tried to defraud Boeing apparently 15 years ago, and the Boeing became aware of it. His name is Hans Brackenier. He's one of the directors of the European Space Agency, and is appointed through the King of Belgium.
Okay.
Who does the work for them is Mr. Delannoy. He is part of the Belgium security services. And the last time they came to the house to carry out the murder, I wasn't home. They beat my wife up, and that's why we packed our bags and we left the country. We are very clear about this position. It's been published with assistance of the past. We declared our position, exactly what is going on. Now they brought, because we are sharing our knowledge freely with everyone, they put this mole within the structure. But the strange thing is that 2 Belgians have cleared the desk just prior to my attempted murder who were in the teaching. So Belgians must have had a warning from the police that this is something else. They should not be here with different excuses. They have left, or they fear of their own lives, whatever it is. The strange is, I have to tell you something which is not unknown. This behavior I've seen, and I know what it is. Unfortunately, Belgian people don't understand. In my business life, I used to have well-established business, practices in 20 years. In early 1990s, we used to have business in Northern Ireland. And I was in the office, and one of the managers of our business in Belfast was in the office one night, and I said to him, what's going on? He said, our sales has dropped drastically yesterday and today. I called our managers. I said, lift and shift everything straight away to Belfast. They're going to bomb us. And by the time we were packing things to go to Belfast, because then it was procedure which was followed, we were bombed that night.
Oh, God.
And my manager in the morning said to me, how did you know we were going to get bombed? I said, the Catholics are told by the church, and Protestants are told by Ian Paisley group, when they are going to bomb, that they don't go to the shopping centers, that they don't get killed. That's why your sales has dropped. Drop in sale means bomb. I've seen this pattern for about a few years now in Northern Ireland. So drop in sale gave me a clear indication.
Wow.
That we are informed. This is well-known practice which was going on. So having this experience, when I see people clearing the desk and the lab desk, it gives a very clear indication. And this is part of the problem which these people don't understand. We know. And so these people, whoever they are, we don't mention names, have been told by the Office of the Italian Attorney, central government, do not disclose names under no circumstances. So, because the criminal steps will be taken for the rest of this gentleman, and as part of the murder attempt, Mr. Hans Brackenier at the top level in the European Space will be arrested for the attempted murder, planning attempted murder.
But Kesh, is your... Sorry, the sound is really echoing a bit here. Is your wife going to be okay? Is your understanding that she will be okay?
She still have the problems. she still had the symptoms of the poisoning. The pains and the chest pains and like people sitting on your body, as she explains it, that still exists. Funny enough, 3 people show the same symptoms. One of the knowledge seekers, my wife, and a lady in Belgium who was here during the poisoning.
Oh God!
So this is a sign of the poisoning, and the knowledge seekers problem started 3 days ago. So we understand fully what's going on. I think, as I explained, this situation cannot go on. We're trying to protect ourselves as much as we can. But I never thought a student become a murderer.
I understand.
And so,
what I'd like to do now, Keshe, just for the benefit of the people and for your work, is to get information out there as to what you have been discovering lately that would make this attack happen and in this way. Perhaps you could talk about that.
One of the latest things which was discovered, it's not discovery because my knowledge and all my patents are open public. So we give everything freely to the world. I have given all my patent, all my knowledge freely. One of the latest discoveries, not a discovery, is the application of technology, is disclosed yesterday. I can post it, you can read it just because it's here. On understanding the situation in Africa regarding Ebola and understanding the test we did in Fukushima, we released and we start teaching the scientists in Africa, in the university in south of Sierra Leone University, in how the new discovery with what you call the materials we developed, we call GANs or nano materials in a state of plasma. And this material, we taught the Africans, we tried to get the material to Africa for them to use it. Somehow it was blocked, and then we found out it was most probably done by we know who in the highest level. So I thought I won't let Sierra Leone to go down with this disease. And I sent, because I have a very good connection within the structure of the Sierra Leone, I've been there, I gave the World Peace Treaty live on television to the government, and I gave lectures in their universities. I know the situation. So I contacted the professors and the dean of universities in that we have a solution for Ebola. And they said, what can we do? I taught them live on the internet, on the Skype, how to make the material themselves. They made a presentation. The head of universities informed the presidential office that this material has been forwarded to us to fight Ebola. And immediately a presentation was done at the offices of the president to a bunch of scientists. One or a couple of them were from Harvard University. I can even email you that. And they congratulated the Africans for achieving such a breakthrough. And then the government or people which is to do with the World Health Organization asked for the material all be handed over to the central government laboratory. And then they said they do not see the results. This was not acceptable by the scientists and the professors and doctors in the universities because they already seen the result. They knew, so this was unacceptable. So what the scientists did, through help of other organizations, they did the test independently. And I can post you can read the result now and the text. He said, "Dear, sorry my internet connection has been extremely limited of late. Also, I tried to call you on the phone, but not going through. We did manage to test some of the nanoparticles against E. coli and saw 98 to 100% emission. One of the issues my team is grasping is to determine the nanoparticle size. And then I asked him, can you explain what does 90% inhibition means, 98, 90% inhibition? And the answer was very clear because I wanted it to understand. what does it mean, what they have discovered testing our material against Ebola or E. coli. And the result was very easy. It came back straight away. This means that it stopped the growth of E. coli bacteria, or they were not present when the nanoparticles were added to contaminated water for 30 minutes and then incubated for 24 hours. This is a fantastic major breakthrough for world. People, hundreds of thousands of people die of E. coli every day around the world. Now we have a free, non-patented technology, costs less than 1 cent to disinfect any water which is contaminated with E. coli bacteria. And the proof is done by the scientists in Africa. It's done independently by the university scientists, doctors. And that's what it means. 98 to 100% inhibition. And we wanted it, and they say, because this material we have developed, the minute it touches the contaminated water, bacteria and viruses in a way are energy dependent. And because of its dynamic plasma, it locks into the energy of the virus. So the virus does not, when you look at it, the virus is still there, but the virus does not have any effect on the body anymore because it locks the energy of the virus. It costs less than 1 cent. Maybe less, 1 cent, let's say, to about every 50, 60 people, 100 people, lives can be saved with less than 1 cent. They can do it themselves.
Keshe, can I ask you if this is also true of, in other words, can you talk about the Ebola information also? Because you're talking about E. coli. Is there a relationship that I don't understand between E. coli and Ebola?
These are viruses. Viruses, in space we have viruses. We don't have microbes and bacteria as such, because it's all energy dependent. When a vast amount of energy locks into amino acid, then we see behavior of viruses. And what happens is E. coli, even now, the test for AIDS will start with this in Africa within the coming days. This, because AIDS is a virus, it will do the same thing. When you intake this material, which is made from it's a natural product, it cannot be patented, you produce it, it is a CO2 in a gas solid state, which the CO2, what we say is the global warming problem, or what you add into your drinks as a Coca-Cola that creates the gas. No one has ever seen this material in a physical state. Gas is a nano state, what we call gas. So when this material is in a gas state, it creates a plasma.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Looks like my Skype ended all of a sudden. 1 second here. We'll get them back. I believe we're still... Hi, everyone. This is Carrie Cassidy, Project Camelot. We are here with MT Keshe and Mike Harris. We were knocked off the air. Well, actually off of Skype, as it happens. And we are now back. And so we will resume. Keshe, you were talking about Sierra Leone and the AIDS virus, I guess, as you put it. And so if you want to continue to explain how this CO2 is going to combat the illnesses that people are getting, but also if you could expand it to incorporate whatever that experiment that was conducted regarding Ebola and what happened as a result.
You got to realize we posted something on our forum and in our teachings last week. As I said, there were scientists from Harvard University in the presentation at the Presidential Palace. And strange enough, last week, Harvard University has released that they have a material which is a copy of exactly the GANs that can attract viruses to it. And they have put pictures up. and it's been published on the net 2 weeks after it was presented in what you call in Sierra Leone at the presidential presentation. So Harvard University scientists who released this confirming our discovery already confirmed it, but they were trying to steal it, but they know they can't patent it. Because this material discovered is released by Keshe Foundation over 5 years ago. The pattern and the production of it is freely available. We are selling kits which you can produce this material now from the Keshe Foundation. We call it CO2 kits. And this material, because it's in the gravitational magnetic field plasma level of the amino acid which carries carbon and oxygen, links into it and it works as a safety net. So you can digest it in small amounts in the system you make, in dosages of like every 5 minutes in the first 2 hours. And then in a small dosages, and then it absorbs the body, and every hour you can do a small dosage. It's just a tip of finger because it's very powerful. And then it gets discharged from the body. Because the material is a naturally produced material in the environment, it attaches itself to the protein which is produced, amino acid which is produced naturally from the environment too. This is a natural product. We are born with it. It's part of our life, but we never understood it. Now we can produce it. This technology, this knowledge is an addition to what we had with the others, knowledges we have. It's a plasma technology knowledge. We knew the performance of this material when we showed it about 4 months ago in Fukushima. We did a live test, 30-hour test presentation in Fukushima with one of our knowledge seekers, and we saw how the radioactive material, within seconds of introducing this material to the gamma radiation, which literally came to zero. And a lot of people said, this is wrong, this is blah, blah. Now we said, if this material is what we've seen in Fukushima, can be used the same for Ebola and other diseases, other infections and bacteria. And the Italian Nuclear Center immediately ran a test over a few weeks here in Italy, again in the report confirming they have seen such a thing, but biologically they don't see the material, but Raman spectroscopy see the behavior of the material. So at the same time, this material was tested by Nuclear Center in Belgium over nearly 5 years ago. So they were aware of the breakthrough.
Okay.
So this material has the property that it behaves like a magnet, that it links the fields of the matter, but it doesn't touch the matter. So now this is a new arsenal in the armament of the medical groups in combating different viruses and diseases. It costs nothing to produce. Nations can do it on their own. We know a lot of people in India continents and in China and Africa die of this bacteria. Now you can produce it at home, literally disinfect it, and even if you digest it, it's a natural process, it's a natural material. And at cost of nothing, we literally eradicate this problem. I posted the second line from the scientists in Africa. If you look at your bottom line, they explain that it means 100%. So it can be done for nothing. And so what is interesting, why does the World Health Organization block such a thing? This is my biggest question. They tested in the Ebola center in Sierra Leone at the test center. They knew it is there, and they gave a false information to scientists. So what I recommend, even to the people, because I know there's been a huge strike by the medical people in the United States regarding nobody has been taught anything about Ebola, you can use this material as a first combat. Go on the Keshe Foundation website. We call it the CO2 kit. And this next 48 hours, a video comes on. You can produce the material at home yourself at no cost within a matter of 48 hours, 72 hours. And, or if you want, as a donation to our foundation, you can order a kit. and it will be produced and delivered to you. The first batch of the systems have left in past 48 hours, and I just received an email that the first package has arrived to destination. So now it's physically in the hand of public. It's not a sale point. We in the video, which is made by knowledge seekers, and we have taught this in past 3 months, 4 months live on our different developments on the Keshe Foundation. If you go on the Keshe Foundation new live stream, if you go on the Keshe Foundation YouTubes in different ways, you will see we have taught this process. So those who are in fear of Ebola and the rest in America, this is a natural process now. We know scientists confirming that it works.
Okay, I have put
yourself.
Sorry.
You can produce the material yourself.
Okay, I have somebody who has given me some links here. I'm posting them in our chat, and I'm also I've gone over to one of the pages here on the link for people to see if they are interested in pursuing this information. So thank you for that. To get back to our discussion in terms of what you have discovered, Keshe, can you talk about what is going on currently in your lab that you think may be triggering this kind of a response that you've been getting lately, the attacks that you've been getting lately? Do you have any thoughts about that?
These attacks are both backdated. The new release of what we have released information on is that if you go on the live stream of the Keshe Foundation in the past 3 weeks, we have managed to use the material, what we call the GANs, to reduce weight by from 11.16 kilogram to 10.6 kilogram, and then increase it to 13.8 kilogram, the same system, using less than 2-3 gram of material. And this shows that the age of propulsion is finished, because you cannot reduce mass weight by this amount with such a little amount. And at the same time, on our website, on our live stream, we have shown that we have produced 129 Tesla using the same material, because it's magnetic, in a very simple process with less than 12 watts of energy. You have to understand that Las Almas laboratories, I've spoken with the scientists, used 1.4 gigawatt in 2012, and they call it as a major breakthrough to produce 90, just under 100 Tesla, which means we passed the level of what they call Las Almas, with this new material to produce a vast amount of magnetic field, plasmatic magnetic field, and still getting silence. It's not shown anywhere because of normal medias have been told they cannot publish anything about Keshe Foundation. But in fact, as we have registered it, and then there was a claim that we are using detection system which is faulty, again by one of the associates of the same gentleman who's escaped from here as another knowledge seeker. He went on the internet saying, I was there and the system doesn't work. And knowing we are correct in our work, we dismantled the detectors. We sent them back to the manufacturers last week, and they tested it for a week. And they said there is nothing wrong. What you're reading is 100% correct. And with the material they have tested, said even if it's wrong at 100, at 14, up to 14 plus the scale of 20, the reading, you put a factor of 5% error. So even with 5% error, 10% error, we are still at around 115 Tesla. The detectors were returned back to us today from the manufacturers confirming the tests are done. So we see collaboration of terrorists with terrorists to discredit. So we have achieved a magnetic field of, let's say, 120 Tesla, which passes the 1.4 gigawatt energy of the Las Almas lab. And now we are in the process of developing further systems on the same line. We have put the detectors on. The problem is that we put all this live online. You can watch the live stream. People were watching it. They were monitoring it while the process was going on. Everything is registered, grams, how much is gone up, what test what has been released. And this is not acceptable when you spend billions in NASA to create a lift. And now maybe a lot of people understand why NASA has stopped the propulsion, because they've been aware when I was arrested, or what by false arrest in Toronto airport. They went through the system. They found out what we developed in Iran in the plasma technology for space. So they knew. And what they've done, they are keeping people like Richard Branson busy with things which crash, while NASA is not doing any further development in propulsion. A man with a little intelligence can ask himself one thing: how come the most advanced organization in the space program suddenly stops all the propulsion programs? Because they know it's obsolete, while now they're producing the new system as we have. Don't forget, at the same time, on 6th of November 2 years ago, on the re-election of His Excellency President Obama, I received a call from the American Embassy in Brussels. We would like to have officially to receive the key what's in it, because they thought what they took off my system in Canada in the airport, which was I was carrying, wasn't the full disclosure, because they couldn't replicate it. And Iranians were capturing the American spy planes like flies. So I gave the key, and I was informed immediately by the people in Washington and through the embassy that the key is handed over in such a day. I have all the emails to NASA that they could do it, but they still could not decipher the patent. Now on the internet, how we've shown they're learning how to do it. So the scale of the process has started.
Okay.
People like Branson are charging to use the obsolete, like what we call a donkey, to take man to the moon, where NASA, instead of putting money in developing or further going with the propulsion, knowing that this technology of the Keshe Foundation is getting completion for them, they are investing and retraining their officers back into, or the scientists, in using gravitational magnetic field positioning. We don't burn fuel, we just find position. On the other hand, this technology has a huge application in what we call, now we've seen in China, the Chinese government has allowed, or Chinese scientists in the government organization are testing and developing this material for agriculture. And on the other hand, this technology has a huge advantage. The system which was used to capture the American drone 3 years ago, which His Excellency President Obama said, can we have our toy back to the Iranian government? Mm-hmm. We have realized we had a breakthrough in our house just 2 days before my poisoning, which the what do you call it, the federal police came, the intelligence people came here. They couldn't understand what was going on because we had a video. They jammed a lot of things here. So what they've done, the poisoning they gave me, they were tuning it with the radio frequency microwave to do the stirring. In a way, they gave the flour and they gave the milk through their agent here, and then they used the frequencies to stir it up, put it in the mixer in a way. So as of last week, I have applied new systems in the house that we see it physically. We have literally created a shield around the house. We know is correct. It's not a dream. It's that because we live near a very busy, what do you call a highway, a motorway, what they call a autostrada in Italy, and we have had this noise since we've been here for a year and a half, 2 years. Especially like 5 o'clock in the morning, you hear it when the trucks start going. It's very loud. Now with applying this system in the middle of the house, we have blocked, we don't even hear the motorway anymore. So we've created the jamming system as we know for ourselves. And nowhere in the vicinity of the residential part of the house, we hear the noise anymore.
Okay.
So
you are protecting yourself. You're protecting yourself at this time.
Yes. So the system is used to protect from this kind of jamming and equipment they use, and we've seen the change because we couldn't sleep. Even they were using now for the first time, as I was saying, to to our knowledge seekers. It's the first time I slept for about 10, 12 hours for a long time because it's absolute silence. And so this is a defense technology, jamming technology, and this is how we can protect ourselves. We have access to the most advanced technologies, and we brought the whole thing into operation.
Okay.
We have the cup of life, which gives you the energies beyond any poison. So we have operated the cup of life now in the house that we, on a regular basis, me, my wife, my child, and whoever is in the house, drink from it. This is the energy which you need beyond to overcome any what do you call it, poison. I carry a huge amount of poison in my body, but we don't see any signs of it in physicality, but it shows in what do you call it, in the test from laboratories. So we have brought in arsenal of space technology in defending ourselves, and at the same time, as we are a peaceful organization, we have the capability to wipe out these people directly in their brain, where the body will separate from their soul. The punishment I can dish out is beyond man's imagination, but we leave it for them to accept the gift they send to us, to their own family. As I explained, every now they know the gift is back to them. I said, if you go back to my talks about 3-4 years ago, when there was a hype of rumors that the Israelis are going to attack Iran for the nuclear centers. And I gave a very clear message to the Israeli government and the American government. I said, we are friends. When a friend gives a gift to a friend, which you don't need, if you already have a pressure cooker and a friend gives you a pressure cooker as gift, you don't need to, you give it back to the friend and says, you use it because I have one. I don't need your gift because it's good, you can use it at home yourself. So, and I said to the Israelis and Americans, when a friend sends a missile, we have the technology to capture. And as we don't need such a gift and we are not in nuclear weapon technology development, where would you like the gift? In Tel Aviv or Washington? And the message went home directly to Tel Aviv. They knew what we can do because we captured the American drone just before that. Now we give the same gift of that they brought us to their own family. And now we have to see how they drop like leaves. Because it's not my wish, it's the wish they sent. I don't need it. So these people from now on, people like Mr. Hans Brackenier and the monarchy of the Belgium and this gentleman who's left here in a hurry not to come back, every time the child cough, they wonder if this is the wish of death. This will eat them to their own death. Every time they have a pain, they wonder, this is the beginning of the death, the torture that they've created for others. I told the gentleman when he was here that if once we know, because the week before he goes, we found out what was going on, I explained to him in front of other knowledge seekers, if we found out and we can get the proof that Hawaz was poisoned, the person poisoning will be sent to Iran, and then that stands by the Iranian law for execution. The gentleman aged nearly 10 years in less than a week. Now he knows the wish of death is with him.
Okay, well, I mean, I want to be clear here because I don't know, you know, and I also want to let Mike Harris join the conversation here for a moment, if you don't mind, Keshe. But I also want to be clear, you are, if I understand, you know, because at this moment, if you do the same thing to somebody else that they have done to you, then this is not, a, you know, as you can appreciate on a spiritual level, a good thing, right? No. We wish them all the best. They do it to themselves. You can go and shoot yourself. That's your crime. But I cannot shoot you. I give you the gift. I don't need the gift. You understand? This is you who should not, this is what we say in all our work. Do not, thou shalt not steal. He came to steal a life. He has to stand for what he came to steal. It's his soul, his inner part will do it to him what is given up. We don't wish it. We do not wish it. I pray for his soul that he finds peace. Okay, I think it's a fine distinction, but I don't know exactly when you say you're going to give the gift back, what you mean exactly.
we give it the gift by thoughts. He brought, he thought, he planned, he executed.
Mm-hmm.
Children financially getting benefited by this. Yeah?
Right.
So the whole family has received a good benefit by it. We can tell you stories what has happened here with this. But I don't need a gift. If a man sends you a gift of death and you don't need it, that gift has to go back to the source of thoughts.
Yes, but how does it go back is the question.
It's a natural process.
I'm sorry?
It's a natural process.
Okay, so you're sort of speaking in terms of karma?
I don't speak about the karma. I talk about, you have to understand thoughts are magnetic field based.
Okay.
So when you release a gravitational magnetic field as thought, as energy, this energy has always had a contact with the base where you started.
Mm-hmm.
As we say in English, return back to the sender.
Sure.
Yeah. As you do not receive a gift, you can accept or refuse. I don't need to receive a gift of death. Mm-hmm. So to the link which is come to when it's established, it goes back to. So I don't need to wish it. This is a very good teaching for the people who understand what we do.
Yes.
Do not need to think and act to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
I am prepared, and I always say I work with national securities, with governments in a closest way, because national security is paramount for us to be able to live. If you have, now we understand the process of work, terrorists amongst us, be it from any part of the world, we do not need to go and harm them. With the knowledge now we possess within the foundation, we can reach them that their behavior changes in a very simple way. You don't need to bomb and kill a few. There's the new understanding of the structure of the plasma reactors. We can reach the school of thoughts in a very easy way. The way you do the punishment, the time of punishment is over. But you can do whatever you like wrong to yourself. You can shoot yourself in the foot, as I say, and go and run a marathon to see if you can win. But that's your choice.
Okay.
We do not. Pardon?
Thank you. Is Mike Harris still on the line with us?
Oh yeah, I'm still here, Carrie. I'm just sitting back here quietly listening and trying to learn.
Okay, very good. I thank you, Keshe, and I do understand what you're saying. I wanted to have you explain very clearly for the listeners out there what you're saying. So I believe you have done so. At this moment, Mike, do you have any direct questions in regard to either some of his testimony in terms of science or any other area that you might like to hear him talk more about?
Well, I'm interested in how he put that protective bubble around his home to keep electromagnetic waves and other things from coming in. That's of interest to me. I did watch a short 6-minute video that was forwarded to me by a mutual friend of Mr. Keshe and mine. So I got that part. I just need to know how to build it. What is the theoretical physics behind it?
This is a plasmatic magnetic field system. You choose a certain material as a load, and you literally create a star. And that star, you determine the strength and the field parameters. It has both gravity and magnetic field. It creates a condition that the magnetical field, what we call atmospheric, is beyond its gravitational. So you reduce the magnetic gravitational field, and you increase the magnetical field, which is a shielding. It's very simple. If you looked at the process, you see it. We have shown it as part of the space reactor technology. It's just knowing how to apply it and where to apply it. I do not teach my knowledge seekers that it looks like magic. They have to find till when they reach a point, then I explain to them. And this is part of the technology has been on the table. When the professor came from university in Italy to see our reactors. He's seen the technology, but he doesn't understand it, so it's irrelevant.
You're talking about the gentleman that Gordon Duff and I sent over there, Riccardo Maggiore?
Yes.
Okay, yes, okay. Yeah. See, that's one of the disconnects, Keshe, that goes on with regular academic type physicists, is that you're describing things in a language they don't understand. And so we've got to find a way to improve the communication channels between you and the rest of the physics community, so we can propagate this technology you're developing around the world. That's really one of my goals right there.
Yes, this is part of the same. You've seen the scientists from Las Almas, which we wrote to. These people can't understand. Even they see the data. This has caused a lot of problem, even in the nuclear center here in Italy. They see the behavior, but they don't see the material. So, or they see the material, but the behavior does not confine within the matter structure of the physics they know. And this is one of the one part of it. Now we have put a CO2 kit. Nobody has ever managed to harvest CO2 out of the atmosphere. We do it now. The kits are out. People are doing it themselves. So they absorb the CO2, they change it into a mass. This is not a theory. Now, by end of, actually, people have received their packages today in their deliveries. And the next 2 weeks, the production will go to China and be produced in a mass in China. And then, at the same time, the Japanese government, they watched the program in Fukushima. Now we have sent the materials to their appointed company, and they have tested it. The first phase was accepted. The second phase has gone through. And the third phase is a commercialization and development in the further development, which is now in progress with that. So the Chinese are going ahead with it, and the Japanese are going ahead with it in respect to producing this material gas and absorption of the radiation and production of energy. Because once you absorb the CO2, it's a plasma, it's like a sun, it has a lot of energy. So now within coming weeks, the systems, rechargeable batteries, what we call it, which is shown in our teachings, people have done it, they've seen it, they've charged things with it. Now it's going to be commercialized.
Well, Mr. Keshe, let me ask another question. What are the top 3 or 4 applications you see for applying this technology? What would be the first things you would do with it? Maybe like the first 3 or 4 things.
The first thing is for health, then is for energy, then is for lift and motion, then is for production of new materials, then is understanding how the whole lot can be used in a very sensible way for establishment of peace. Because now we are looking at different aspects of different scientists around the world who are doing this. You can produce this material very cheaply at home, and immediately once you produced it, extract the CO2, at the same time produce for yourself an energy source to charge your battery, to recharge your telephone and the rest. And this is what we have passed on the technology and the structure to the Japanese, by the request of the Japanese government to the commercial company. And so application is for decontamination of Fukushima, because you can add this material to the radioactive material and extract the gamma rays. And there is a process you can do. All these tanks which are sitting around Fukushima, they can be used as an energy source which is available to the knowledge we have. It's now the Chinese are doing, you can see it on the, what they call it, on the Chinese workshops of the Keshe Foundation. If you go onto the live stream Keshe Foundation workshops, the Chinese are investing in development and research into the farming applications, because it can be used as a fertilizer. It absorbs the energy of the environment, they soak the seed in it, and then the seed grows in different ways. We have done this nearly for 4 years, 5 years now. It was one of the tests about 4 years ago was done in America, but American accepted the seed and they grew. We did growth in 7 nations around the world about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's not something new. Now it's becoming largely done. Now that hundreds of these, thousands of these kits are going delivered to people, it's like an egg which lays, like a chicken who lays an egg every day. You can use so much of it for the energy you want, for your energy system. Then you can use the material for, as a fertilizer, you can use the material for your health applications and so on. But as I was teaching the Chinese companies in the past few days, you use this material for creating energy in a very, very cheap way. They have a system. Now they use the instead of magnets, they're using this material as replacing the magnets with much more power. It's the beginning of the computers. It is unbelievable what you can do with it, but people will come up in our today's teaching. A Spanish guy who lives in Germany has shown for the first time how to separate the gold into a GaNs. And it's very simple. People are developing their own ways. You are aware of things. But on the other hand, a lot of people are afraid to show what they are doing out of fear. And with the teachings now, we do more or less one teaching every day. On Mondays, we do with Chinese. On Tuesdays, we do for the Spanish speaking. On Wednesdays, we teach children. On Thursdays, we do the general teaching of the research in space and reactors. And on Fridays, we teach 2 or 3 hours on the health side now. We are in the 9th or the 10th program on the health side. And we have, what do you call it, the technology, for example, now that we can eradicate a lot of diseases in a simple way. And we have opened it, and now even in the past 2 weeks, we developed a new technology in the health side that it brings the cost to affordable level. We will announce it most probably tomorrow in our health program, where we used to put the research costs for something like Alzheimer's or whatever around 25,000-30,000 euro for research and development. We donate it to the foundation. We most probably by tomorrow will announce a drastic development that can bring this at the reach of every man. And this has all come through the support we have received. We don't accept money from people who can influence. You can donate the money, but the donation goes, nobody knows who received it, and they cannot influence the foundation. But for diseases like Alzheimer's, fibromyalgia, cancer, addiction, because I have Dr. Elia sitting right in front of me because we announce this tomorrow. If you have people who are addicted to heroin, cocaine, which you cannot find the solution. We have tested this 3 times in the past 3-4 years. It comes to a point that they can't even touch the drugs. So we are looking at a new health center, one in Malta, which is getting opened up, and one in Italy in the coming weeks. So we are bringing the technology to the people, for the people, done by the people. So if you have people who have addiction, now you can find a solution for it in a very easy way. They can't even touch a cigarette because the people who tested this system, they say even touching a cigarette, it feels like trying to choose your own experiment, if you understand. It's so bad that the body rejects it, and they walk away from it so naturally that it doesn't have any withdrawal. It's a natural process.
Okay, Keshe, Keshe, but when you're saying they are using this technology, how are they administering it to themselves? Can you explain that? Is it in a pill? Is it in? Are they breathing something? What is the situation with that?
Up to now, we used to use water and air and systems around the body for different problems. Now we are, with the development of and understanding the process, we allow, you can do it yourself, you can develop the technology yourself, but we allow the body to reprocess itself to the original condition it was before the disease, because body knows the defects. The only thing is we create enough support that the body fulfills the support what it needs to go back to its normal condition.
Okay.
We have announced about 2 weeks ago about the cancer. You can eradicate most of the cancer in a very easy way using this technology. If you go back to the health sections of the foundation teaching, we already have taught it how it's done. Now we're making the systems available worldwide.
Okay, but what is, when you say the system, for the people that don't understand, what are you talking about? In other words, what do they need to have? Is it equipment in order to produce the CO2?
No. It's equipment which matches their body, their DNA, their blood, the type of, and what they carry in their blood. So, for the first time, now we reached the point that we can pass this point. It doesn't matter what blood, what do you call it, the specification you have in your blood, the system can reach cancer in any level, or drug addiction. Doesn't matter what blood type you carry, so you can literally buy it off the shelf.
Okay, and can it counter the disease or the poisoning that you and your wife have had? Does this system work for that?
Yes, we are using it.
Okay.
We have started using it. Initially, because we didn't know what it was, and then it was diagnosed what it was, and we took one. The doctors can't believe that we have stood such a heavy poisoning, because nobody has left it. I've got Dr. Elias sitting here looking at me. These people don't understand. So now we put the system to protect ourselves. We use it because now we know what it is. It's very easy for us to protect ourselves. And if you have Alzheimer's, if you have Parkinson's, these things we're solving one by one. But diseases like fibromyalgia, Alzheimer's, cancer, MS, and these things now we have understood more, even compared to, let's say, 3 months ago. The whole ballgame has changed and it's gone so advanced because we've been researching and developing. Now we come to a stage that we can do this. You've got to understand something very clearly. We are not developing this technology for the use of hospitals. We are developing this technology for the past 20 years, whatever, for the use in the space. Because we are a space-based organization. In the space, I cannot send you back to Earth for a heart transplant. I cannot send you back because you caught something. Now we understand the basis of all the diseases, where they come, how they can be tackled. So in the space, we have one system. Now we're more or less completing. We are in the final stages of completing this system. That whatever disease you have, you use the system according to that disease to bring balance in the body. So we cannot go into space and the test. Now we've done a lot of tests. We've done over hundreds, thousands of tests in the past 15 years around the world. We are not confined to one place. So we have developed it to a point now that we think we can launch one system at the moment for a large number of diseases. And we are very open about it. People know when they come to us where we stand, and they're part of the structure of research. And at the same time, the information they give us allows us to develop and perfect the system.
Okay, but do you have testimonies from people who have been cured by the system?
Pardon?
Do you have, written testimonies or from people? Are they coming?
Yes, we put some on the internet, and then the Third Reich in Germany ganged up with the Belgian government, people, the same as the Hans Brackenier, trying to accuse us all sorts of things. So we brought our website down on the health side for a while. Now it's gone international. All the doctors are involved around the world with it. So the testimonies are there if you go on the Keshe Foundation.
Okay.
We put it out. But the thing is, we sign a non-disclosure as a research with our volunteers. So it's for them to disclose the problem.
Sure.
I had a volunteer today with me. The lady has been suffering from severe clinical fatigue and fibromyalgia for 40 years. And in 3 months, she was here with her husband. She cannot understand how things have been done just by drinking some water. And it changed the life of both in a way, because the life changes in these processes, because now you can do more, but even though you don't want to understand how it works, as long as you reach. We have people who could not walk, and we have that they can, even now they're decorating and rebuilding houses after 4 months with the system. This is what I do when I ever work within security people, especially with the police force. We create a lot of protection for us around our life. I always tell them a lot of police officers suffer from the back pain because of their work, the injuries they receive. I always say, any of you members of the police force wants us to help, because you help us, we can help you back. We can put you back on the beat in a very easy way at no cost. And it's amazing what they receive and how we receive from different. Most of our volunteers are professionals, because they know they've been doctors and their families. I support processes like chemotherapy, because I know what chemotherapy does in a good way, and I know the side effect. And in the foundation now, we have found a way to reduce the side effect to a benefit of the man. And it's been monitored by the chemotherapy center in Germany. The volunteer is continuously monitored by the doctors. We have seen what it has brought the benefit. So if people had a chemo process, now there is a facility available, knowledge available to be able to reverse it, to allow at least to live a normal life. If you suffer from diabetic, now the process is available, because we've seen a drop in insulin use within 2 weeks by 50%. It's a very simple. Now we understand the beginning of the diseases. We are not magicians. Everything is done on the basis of understanding the structure. Now we understand the structure of the plasma. We create a system which creates a magnetic field plasma which covers my house. So I'm protecting myself. I reduce the same thing in a miniature. It goes in the body, does the same thing. It's not that you do different things or you create different, materials. It's understanding you create the conditions. And now we understand it, and now we use it. And in so many ways, now we've seen the scientists in Africa have proven it, because in the West, the cover-up is very good because they get paid to cover up or trying to discredit. Now we will release a communique by the university and us regarding these things. And the funny thing is, why should Harvard University release such a article? Just give me 1 second. I'm going to open something, and I hope where you can read the article from from Harvard. Just 1 second. I have to go to somewhere, and you can see they tell you exactly what they've done. And strange enough, the only thing they don't tell you, they've stolen technology in a conference. So it's very easy. Harvard scientists look very good, but they don't say we are thieves. And the professors were present, and I can release you that what the professor said to the African scientists, but they felt like what they did to me with Professor Hawking. The guy would not be known, so I can go and say I changed my mind after 30 years. Just wait 1 second, I'll give you the
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you just said about Stephen Hawking. What were you saying?
You know, my position with Stephen Hawking announced that he's changed his mind after so many years, and that was that the black holes they're not what he said. And after reading my book, he changed his mind. And so I have published my point of view, how he stole my paper to change his mind. And so Professor Hawking, I put it in my book, his name and his detail, how he has stolen the work of another scientist. But at that time, they thought of not being known. So He can say he changed his mind and gave a shirt to another scientist, and it's in my books. The book has been published for nearly 4 years now, and Stephen Hawking has not sued us because we know how correct we are, because we have all the documents. And in the book, we released the letter from the institute says they're not going to publish my paper. The same day as Stephen Hawking announced he changed his mind. Read the article. I put it at the bottom of the link. If you see it, you can post it.
All right. Okay. Very good.
In this article, it says medicine cure magnetic virus common Ebola. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, this is the gas which is shown to the scientists of the Harvard University in the presidential offices of the President of Sierra Leone by the African scientists. And we have published it. So now they don't say, but the GANS material has been published in my second or third book as the GANS material. It was tested in University of Ghent, confirming the existence of this magnetic material 4 years ago, and then immediately was blocked by the Belgian government. Now you read it. It's from Harvard University. So we are not saying that this material works on Ebola or E. coli, because now the most reputable university in America confirms this ball of magnetic field, which is what we call a GANS, and it's the discovery of the Keshe Foundation. So the proof of the pudding is stealing it and coming up with a different name. And that's what they don't understand in this paper, or because they cannot go far with it, is that the link that they want to test in animals, you don't need, because when you create a CO2 on top of the water, due to the structure of the system, you produce amino acid, which is the structure of the body of the man. You take that amino acid with the CO2, automatically in your body works. So you provide your own body with the protection of the virus. So they say what proves that it is, and look at the date of the release, and when we released the documents about the gas. And I released the paper earlier on this year called Oil Amino Acid, and I explained how these plasmas are created and how they work, and oil is unending resources. Nothing to do with dinosaurs. It's a natural process, but when you produce gas, this oil is produced on top of your water, so you use the link to help yourself.
Okay, Keshe, I am going to this link that you put in your chat, and I am looking to see what goes on here. It is not in English, I guess.
Yeah, you see that orange ball is called nano material. Yeah, this is what we call a GANS. Yeah?
Yes. Okay.
This is what we discovered, and we call it GANS. It's been published a long time ago. It's a ball of plasma, behaves like a magnetic ball, but it's an atomic structure, it's a atomic magnetic structure, or molecular magnetic structure. And this is what has been tested. This material, because of its gravitational magnetic field, links up with a virus which is magnetic energy based. So it's like a bee in a honeypot. It connects, it links up. So it has the ability to do, they call it a nanoball, but in fact what is called the GANS, and you say this is spherical, and that's what it is. And so our technology has already been confirmed. So we released this nano GANS material. I'll tell you. It is in a book called The Structure of the Light. It's published in 2010 and has been in circulation for 4 years. We've shown it how it's done. It's been tested, all the graphs and all the structure. The section is called CO2 in a GANS state. Paper written in 2009.
Okay.
So it's in my book number 2. I published this as a paper because We don't give books to be peer-reviewed, to be stolen like the way Stephen Hawking did with the black hole paper. So now I publish my papers on my website and on my books. So I leave it for the man to peer-review, not thieves. Because peer-reviewing has become how to steal technology, and you can block it. This way I release my knowledge freely, and every scientist take it according to what they have. If the scientists in Harvard have managed to understand it and they use it the way we've been explaining from March, April time in Fukushima, then we have achieved our goal. We transferred knowledge unconditionally without patents. And so now other scientists can follow the same thing and be bold enough to put their knowledge in the open spaces of the human, what I call university and science. Then they benefit by what they put in. So it's the same thing.
Keshe, in terms of this discovery that you've made, and you say that you are mainly concentrating on using it for space travel, you say, and is this what the Iranian government or space agency is going to be using then in space? Is this what you're developing for that government or for all governments?
Your nearly 75% of the world population governments have received this key in the past 2 years. Your president on his election day, if you want, I can release you a copy of it today, now. I think, as I say always, what is in the back of the mind of a president on his election day? By 9 o'clock New York time, he knew he's re-elected 2 years ago. And at 3:40, which is 9:40 your time in New York, I received an email from the office of the ambassador of the United States in Belgium that they would like to have the key with all the technology on it. I don't think if we were so bad and the technology was so obsolete, ambassador of a nation on the day of election of the president asked for such a thing. So they know the gravity of the change. We have released the paper of His Excellency President Obama on the day of his re-election. And it was well published when they asked for a meeting, and the day they received the key when I met with the American high-ranking diplomats. And I gave them the key according to their request in Brussels. I put the hand of peace out on the table to the officials. I said, this is a hand of peace from Iran, you can shake it. And as we know, the conclusion of that offer of peace, hopefully by next week will come the peace between Iran and 5+1, because everything started from that point. We know 2 weeks after that time, Hillary Clinton was airport, which the plane was crashed. And hopefully, as I say to my knowledge seekers, we've been treated like terrorists. And from next week, when the peace treaty is signed between Iran and 5+1, we become one of the top scientists, because now there is no allegation to block us as terrorists. It's just change of the hat after 22nd of November. You will see the governments through different channels have started approaching us for development of technology, now that they know there is no excuse to block science. And as I was telling to my knowledge seekers, from next week we will be most sought after scientists around the world, because the hat of the terrorists doesn't exist. Iranian scientists become top scientists. You have to understand one of the reasons for this negotiation 5+1 is the fear of the science Iran carries. Iran is dictating most of the terms, because you've got to understand something very simple. Iranian centrifuge use 1/6 of the energy of the American centrifuge in nuclear development. They produce 6 times more. So the Iranians want to keep the 20,000 reactor, the centrifuge, which is equal to 120,000 American centrifuge. So what part of this negotiations teach us how you do it, we allow you to come into the market. It's the same with our space technology. It's part of negotiation between the American and 5+1 is to teach us more about the plasma technology, which my technology is part of it, that we allow you to come. we are getting bribed to use our own technology to save our own nation. So after next Friday, we are about 6 or 7 Iranian top scientists who've been put on exile and in the death threat position. We all become out of terrorism into the top scientists around the world, because then we cannot block it. I'm grounded here because of this reason. When I went to go to Mexico, when I was kept and threatened to be killed by the Canadian government officials in the airport, with the full knowledge of White House, because we put racket as terrorists. Now we don't become terrorists because we are Iranian nuclear physicists and plasma physicists. Now we become top scientists because you need us to save your own life. And this will change next Thursday.
Why next Thursday? Why are you saying that next Thursday? What is going to happen around that date?
Around about 22nd, 24th is a deadline for signing the treaty between Iran plus 5+1 in respect to Iranian nuclear technology. And that day will come, and more or less, as far as we know, internally and externally, most of the things that is achieved will come to some sort of agreement. As I said prior to the negotiations openly, we come with open hands, nothing to be hidden. And we've seen that policy has been adhered to by the Iranian officials. Transparency was one of our main goals to achieve this negotiation. And when it comes after 22nd, 24th, when this treaty is signed, that the West gets the technology from Iran, then the Iranian terrorists become the top scientists in the world. Don't forget, they bombed us and they killed a lot of us, 4 or 5 of us in different ways. And now that the technology is open, as I was explaining to somebody very recently, the Iranian plasma physicists and nuclear physicists and some top scientists, we become like the German time when the Americans and the Russians got to Germany and they split the scientists. At the moment, there's a negotiation is going on in the background. We scientists, when the freedom comes, will go to where? And we see approaches from different channels in different directions with different scientists. So a number of top scientists will start moving from Iran or within Iran and outside Iran into different new part of destinations for development of the other countries, but it's still based and linked to Iran.
Hey, Kerry, let me try to think about this, because I, for one, have been on press TV out of Tehran, Iran, about 1.5 years ago, advocating for a normalization of relationships between the U.S. and the Iranian government. And many of us at Veterans Today have been working the back channels that we have in order to build a consensus within the U.S. intel community in order to get this treaty this far. There's been stiff opposition from the Zionist forces, but we've gotten enough progress. And what Keshe is telling us here is spot on. We expect to have this treaty signed before the end of November.
Okay, thank you. I'm just bringing it up here. Did some searches on the internet while you're talking here, so I've got an article about that for people, and they can take a look at that. Thank you. Any other background, Keshe, in terms of why you think the attacks on you and your family are in the form that they are taking? For example, I have some whistleblowers who say to me that if somebody wants to take you out, that they will simply succeed. They will not fail time and time again. It appears they are failing time and time again with you. Do you have a thought as to what they are really trying to do? Is it simply to shut you up or frighten you? What is your thought on that?
It's a combination of two. It's a combination of, we push you to the point that when you get Mr. Delannoy as a senior police officer of Belgium with 6 other officers standing in front of my house in Belgium and beating my wife up when I wasn't there, what do you think it is? Pure intimidation. A police officer who is in active duty does not run away hiding behind the trees and the walls. My wife has videoed him. You understand?
Yes.
So these all is we do what we like. You got to understand that the biggest nightmare of the Belgium Hans Braconier and Belgium monarchy was that if this technology worth billion goes into public, we lose everything, because they thought they're pressurizing after that bend. The only thing they didn't calculate on was I get in the car and I drive to Italy. So don't forget the ex-Queen of Belgium is Italian. So there is still wielding their forces here, but we are, our security people are aware of what's happening. We are monitoring their activities.
But do you think it's, but what I'm wondering is it because of your latest disclosures, or is it because of this upcoming treaty? Do you think the treaty has anything to do with the escalation?
I have a lot of respect for Americans. A lot of people know this. I have a lot of respect for the Chinese and the Russians and the rest. The situation which is on life position with us, it goes back to the Royal House of Belgium and the way they've been intimidating and killing scientists it's become a way of financing monarchy in Belgium. Stealing technologies, and they have people, they put prosecutors, everything in position and do it supposedly legally. And every time they made a move, internally within the Belgian structure, they inform us and we go public, and so it goes blocked. At this moment, when the King of Belgium came to see me personally with his wife, more or less 2.5 years ago, and I sat on the table and I spoke with him for about an hour and a half, I knew what it is, and I knew that I was asked to leave Belgium. If you don't give us the technology, you have to leave. So their forces was to intimidate that you leave, but they never thought I leave because my wife is Belgian. And now that we are here, they cannot believe how we are working and how we are spreading the knowledge so freely. No scientist anywhere. I challenge NASA. I challenge Las Almas research centers. I challenge the Russian Space Agency. Do what I did. Put your test, failure, success online every day. You go on the yeah.
Sorry?
Can you hear me? I can't hear a thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you
I
there?
have no sound.
You've not lost. We're calling. Sorry, Kesh. We lost Mike. Apparently, he was dropped off, and he's going to.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you. I've got no sound.
Okay. Well, I guess you're being interfered with again.
I'll just sit here until.
I think you better boot out and come back.
Okay. So, yeah, it looks like Mike is. We're having a problem here.
Yes, but he'll come back on. He's back. There's still no sound. Reboot. So
okay, go ahead.
The situation with us, with the Belgian authorities, is well documented. It is something that they used to do highway robberies. Now they can't do it. So now they use science to get into the making money business. And you got to understand that the situation with us, we are not the only scientists. A number of scientists have been harmed and killed in Belgium. Even this guy who was here from Belgium was trying to tell me how they kill, to see how and what I know, and he wants you to add him back.
Okay. All right. Let me try this. Hold on 1 minute. We'll try to add Mike and see how this goes. Again. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, he's back on.
Okay, I'm back for a moment.
Okay, Mike, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. Now I can hear you. I had to sign out of Skype and sign back in, but you know.
So what it is, this attempt to trying to kill us is the fourth time they've tried. And this guy who was here in the nutcase told me how they kill. At that time, it didn't click on me. He said that the woman was pushed off the road, went on the highway. When she pulled out to see what happened, what happened to her car, then they shot her. He was telling me how he's going to kill me, and he was my student in front of me. And his behavior has already been reported to the Italian prosecutors. There is a file on him. We know what it is, and how he is operating. I tell you something. the noose around this group is getting tighter and tighter. Sooner or later, somebody is going to squeak.
Okay, but Kesh, and I appreciate all of that. And obviously, you've been incredibly courageous to continue your quest and your drive to bring all of this out to the public, and to also continue your amazing investigations into these areas, regardless of the kind of obstacles you're facing. But I do wonder, this is coming from a higher place than those individuals, as you can appreciate, correct? I mean, I know you're pointing to the Belgian authorities. However,
I'm going to answer you in a very simple way. And I've said that recently in my presentations, in my teachings. I applied for a visa from Mexican government to go to Mexico, when they had a problem in Mexican Gulf with BP. Because I knew through the gas system we can capture all the gases which was coming, which was harmful to the animals and the ocean, to convert them into solid material that we can use them. I was given a visa at around about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning by the Mexican embassy. And I flew the next morning to Mexico through Toronto. I arrived in Toronto airport to change plane international transit. And at the gate of the plane, there was an officer. The minute he saw my passport, said that officer is waiting for you. When I went to the officer, he had the whole of my website in his hand, and he said, "I've been studying your website and everything for 3 days to be able to ask questions about your technology. How come I received a visa less than 24 hours before, and this guy has studied my paper 3 days? I have published his name on the internet, who he is, in the customs of Canadian government. And then you have to tell me something very interesting. How could they know I'm in trouble? I'm coming to, I have a visa, if it wasn't organized between the Belgians, the Mexicans, the Americans, and the British. Because you don't touch a scientist at my level, which is Iranian, that's just come back from Iran a few months before developing the Iranian space technology. They knew what had happened. It's a full collaboration between them. One day, Mr. President Obama will confess to what he's done. He's authorized my arrest. I've said that. Now he's a lame duck, but he still can put things right the last days in office. I could not be a scientist at my level, does not get arrested, especially being Iranian, because every day I was in the airport, there was a discussion. I would put a handcuff on him. Till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, there was a discussion between security and the customs. And the security, the national security, and the people who are responsible to carry people from the airport to the custody room. If you handcuff him, if they see him in a handcuff, it's not good for the news. Then they know. Every day they told my sister they're going to kill me if it goes public. So these things come directly from the White House, directly from the Belgian government.
All right.
You got to understand, I don't blame. Let me tell you something. I do not blame the Americans. I do not blame the Canadians. I do not blame the Mexicans. Mr. Hans Brackeni is sitting with the King of Belgium because they're all pedophiles. We have a full history of the abuse and killing of children. They have created so much false information within the government structure and the police structure of Belgium, I would leave them. So this is very much acting by the governments on the false information which is created deliberately. If I was a terrorist, because it's in the, we've seen the dossier, what sits in the Belgium. There are people within the Belgium security inform us what's going on. Yeah?
Okay.
This is what it is. So
yes.
Governments act on the false information and the way it's done. So we cannot blame governments outside, but they have created so much that I wouldn't touch myself when I read the reports which Hans Brackeni has put in the structure with the police of Belgium. I think what I said from the Italian prosecutors are coming to this conclusion that any warrant issued by the police of Belgium will not be applicable to Interpol because it's all tainted with blood.
Okay. Yes.
So this is the situation.
I understand, but I also wonder, in terms of the scientists that are around the world, and some of whom are working with you, we assume at this time, are any of those scientists coming forward to defend you, knowing that you are being, treated in this way?
We're defending. I share knowledge freely on the internet every day.
Yes.
I answer scientists freely around the world every day. I was telling you something you got to realize. I said in my workshop today, yesterday I was shown this CO2 kits which we have put in the market for capture of CO2, which is used for Ebola. Mm-hmm. I was shown yesterday. I'm going to open it because it's here. Can you open? One of the kits has been ordered by Office of the Prime Minister, and he's so bold that he's put in there that it's for the Office of Prime Minister. And it's one of the top European prime ministers. We're talking one of the top nations in United Nations economically.
Okay.
And we have seen that the same government military has bought a unit. So people openly, if we were kidding, I can give you the name and the address, you know who they are. If Office of the Prime Minister buys a unit for CO2, so it means, and we're talking about top Western 10 nations we're talking about. So everybody knows how openly the information is there. And we are doing it without a fear. So the support comes within the trust and the information we put out. And the freely. As I said, I challenge Las Almas. Mike knows what I'm talking about. I challenge people in CERN, put an open camera on your research the way I do. Yesterday we had 2 failures. Our system fell on the floor. Everybody has seen it. This is part of research to fail. Yeah? There it is. I read it to you because Caroline just gave it to me. Yeah?
Okay.
This is, they received the patch, the what do you call it, the unit this morning. And it goes directly to Office of the Prime Minister. Yeah? And I reviewed the dispatch number. It has in it 1244. It's been already, its air bill number is got part of it. So we are so open. Let's open the science to everyone. This secrecy has to go away. I invite the Americans. I invite the people from Las Almas. Come, let's see how I protect myself in my house. See how easy it is. At the same time, I invite the Iranian scientists to come and see how it is. I have no hesitation to invite the Chinese, because once everybody has it, we can't use to harm each other. When Mike Harris knows what I'm talking about, the Italian scientist came here to have a look, I took him everywhere in the lab. He could see everything, but I think the biggest shock to him was how open this guy is, how true can be that he's so open. I open my lab every day, knowledge seekers, whatever is new, they put pictures on the internet, and people have started following the same as us. They do something, they put it on. Let's open the science freely without patent and see if it's so big that we can all be benefited by it.
Yes.
But not free. This is the biggest nightmare of the big organizations, but the big organizations got to realize all people, handicaps, women, children cannot make these systems. They still have a market. It's a huge market, and it's a fresh market, so there's more money to be made. And so it shouldn't be that hard. I received, just wait 1 second, I'll tell you something else. The other patch has gone to the Caserna. I think you know who it is. It's a military camp in France. The French military has already received their first package of CO2, and the air bill number has 0737 in digits. They know who we are talking about. So if the head of militaries and the governments are buying these packs to see what it is that they can do, they know we are a peaceful nation, we are a peaceful organization. It's just that, as I said, the Belgian government has put so much rubbish in the hand of the governments that they have believed the whole lies. So now they see the light there, as I was told by the prosecutor here in Italy, that we are dismissing the whole structure of their claims by the Belgian police. And they have put protection on us that if we travel, Interpol cannot touch us. They done it because they know what it is. So whenever I travel, I have a full protection through the European EU Community Police Force to be protected from what the Hans Brackenier has put in order. They're laughing at them. I didn't do it. They told me this is a procedure, what you have to do. They put all that practice in operation to protect us. So this is for the American government to understand. Whatever is on the book is what is being built up so much. There's an old saying in English, if you throw enough shit, some of it will stick. And Hans Brackenier has thrown a lot of it, and they believe them now. I think he's looking for somewhere to escape, to hide. Because now it comes, as I said, we collaborate with NASA, we collaborate with the American Central Intelligence Agency for security around the world. We work with the Iranian National Office of the President directly, we work with the Chinese directly. We work directly with the Japanese and the rest. But the only organization my foundation will refuse to collaborate is with European Space Agency. With Hans Brackenier being appointed by the king to be at the top, he will find a way to kill more and murder more scientists. And this guy has to be stopped. Somebody in European Space Agency has to look why this guy is sitting on the top of shareholder of some 300-400 top inventions around the world, which is coming through Belgium. So he doesn't get it, he kills. Okay. And he gets benefited by the king.
All right, Keshe, we've been going for about 2 hours now, so I'm going to let you go. But I do want to give Mike Harris one more chance if he has any questions for himself to ask. I understand, Mike, you're going to be doing a broadcast with Keshe. Is it later today or tomorrow?
No, actually, it's not a broadcast. We have a private conversation set up with some U.S. Army intel types, and we're trying to bring peace to the world. That's kind of what it is. Trying to get this technology out here commercialized, so that mankind can benefit from it. That's the purpose.
Okay, very good. Now, as far as the people in the chat room, just a note to them. I don't see any clear questions being put into the chat, at least where I can catch them. So if here at the end, if there's any questions that anyone wants me to ask Keshe, we could take a few minutes and take your questions. If you want to type them quickly into the chat, I prefer if you use all caps. It's easier for me to see. Anything else you want to say, Keshe?
Yes. Now that Mike has mentioned it, we welcome the American intelligence and the American Army in supporting and trying to understand the technology. I congratulate you, Mike and Gordon, in being facilitators for communication and understanding of the technology by the American military, that we can use the technology in a peaceful way, that we don't have the fear of unknown. And it takes a lot of courage in what you and Gordon and other people have done to arrange and organize this kind of coming in touch with the fear of unknown. That is a friend, not an enemy, and it takes a lot of courage. And people like you who've been in the front line of the war understand this and want to change it. We open the door with a great respect for the American Army to come in, and we teach you everything you know, as we are doing with the Chinese.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll be talking here in a couple minutes, I guess. Well, I'll call you back as soon as we're done here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and just before we sign off here, we do have one particular person who says his nephew is 15 and has premature spinal bifida spastica, has been in a wheelchair his whole life. He wonders if this would cure him.
Can you please come through the Keshe Foundation help? Go on the Keshe Foundation help, send the application in. We have a capable doctor here, and we can use the system technology to help. We have, if you have any children with autism and mental handicap to birth, lack of oxygen, it takes up to 3 years when we can bring them to their age. If they're, for example, 10, 12 years old now with a mental age of 2 or 3, we have done this several times. You can take them, bring them slowly over 3 years. By the time they are 15, 16, they'll behave and live at 15 years as an old child. This is the problem of the past. If you have children with mental disorder, with the epileptic attacks, there is all available. If you have your loved ones with coma, the foundation has the technology to reverse coma within 3 hours.
Okay.
We have shown that these are not theory. So the spinal bifida does send a link to the Keshe Foundation. Listen tomorrow to Keshe Foundation live stream help. We'll make an announcement regarding the technology. We have to be very clear. We are in the process of expanding. We cannot accept every case till we have enough scientists and doctors trained to be able to carry the pressure. We are getting requests from China to South America to African nations to all over Europe. And so we have to choose what we can do, which can help. On the other hand, as you know, with the poisoning, I don't have the strength I used to have 6 months ago. And this is putting a huge, but I just manage enough daily to be able to do the teaching and everything else. Because if I show the sign of weakness, they win. My knowledge seekers know even if I was bending with pain on my knees, I carried on teaching before I died. But luckily enough, I had Dr. Elliot to help us with that. So send your requests. We have a look and we try to help what we can.
All right. Thank you. And there is a person asking about our solar system colliding with a sister solar system. Is there anything you might want to say about that?
That's why we're developing the new technology.
That's why you're developing the new technology.
People who've been on my works, on my teachings, they know exactly what we are doing. It's too late when it's too close. We have to plan and do it collectively. And I'm sure one of the first meetings will come when the American military and the Iranian military and the Chinese will gather at the Keshe Foundation, so we share knowledge that we can protect our nations and the environment around us and what is about to happen with our galaxy.
Okay. Well, that's a really sort of momentous ending here. If you decide that you wish to come up onto my live stream and talk in more detail about this colliding solar system situation, please let me know.
No problem. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Keshe. And please be safe. Mike as well. And thank you all for listening today. And please do spread this out. Let this video go viral. I will be uploading it also to my YouTube channel as soon as possible later this evening.
Let me tell our American friends, do not have any fear regarding Ebola, because you can save yourself. Just go on the Keshe Foundation YouTube, and you can do the whole thing yourselves. Even the nurses and doctors are on the front line. And if you need anything, send us a link. We respond. You can organize live programs to teach you what to do and how to do it, because there are different procedures for external and internal contamination of these viruses.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, and good night, everyone.
Thank you, Keshe. Thank you, Carrie. Everybody have a nice day.
All right, take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
This is live. Okay, and so we are now live, and we are, this is MT Keshe, and the Iranian physicist who is now living in Italy, and myself, Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and Mike Harris, a well-known radio talk show host. And behind on the screen, I've had Keshe's website, which is the Keshe Foundation. So so people can also go, the ones who are listening to this and not familiar already with MT Keshe. I've done a number of live stream interviews with him, and I think he's certainly gotten out to the public in other ways. I think on your show as well, Mike.
Yes, he has.
We are doing this broadcast right now because we got word that Keshe is having some issues. They are still trying to, well, there are attempts on his life, on his family, and we simply want to go public here to make the public aware of what's going on so that they know, whoever are the people that are doing this, that that this is public knowledge, and that you know, if you make attempts on a man's life, in this case, then there must be something behind what he says. In other words, this further substantiates all of the claims that Keshe has made over the years. And what I did was I did put on my website, on the post, the links you sent me, Keshe, so that people could view those YouTube videos. So do you want to talk about some of your latest experiences first?
Well, even the name is real, what we have on our list, that he is. But there are a lot of indication and activities which do not comply with the international rules of people who are in this position. And why a person has to declare himself as a terrorist to other knowledge seekers is a surprise to us. But anyway, the blood results, or what they call it, the sample results, shows large amount of heavy metals, which then they use systems which is available only to one company known as IMAC in Belgium. And strange enough, the guy told us that his son-in-law works for IMAC of Belgium. So it was well infiltrated in the structure of the company for the students. We will take action in due course, but as I always say, we pray for the soul of these people. And these people need, if they claim themselves to be a terrorist and then they plant it here, it goes back again deep into the position where we have had with the King of Belgium for a long time. Now we have a physical evidence of poisoning of a very large quantity. It's a technique used, and the gentleman, we have witnesses declaring himself as a terrorist. We have no doubt who he is, and you don't clear your table, your facilities in the lab without anybody knowing and making up boxes that there are things in the box. So he knows who he is. We don't mention a name, but as what we stand and where we stand, clearly Belgians have infiltrated us. So from now on, we don't allow any Belgians in the territory of the teaching. And secondly, this is not the first time that this attempt has been on my life. If it wasn't because of Dr. Kosova, we would have been all, me and my wife, most probably dead by now. Because the dosage of poison is horrendously high, extremely high. We're talking about 4 times normal in some materials. And this must have been digested. So what was puzzling for me, I was explaining this afternoon, is that every time we finished with the session, this gentleman wanted to stay behind upstairs in the teaching room, pretending to be working. And now we understand what he's done, but I bless his soul. I hope he finds peace with himself and peace with his children. As I say, when you give a gift and it's not wanted, it is returned back to the sender. And he sent me wish of death on my family, and he's got children and family himself. I would like what the history makes about him, how him and his children will go through the painful life, what is caused the pain for me, my child. And as strange enough, another knowledge seeker has been affected, who's been on the environment of the, what do you call it, poison area. And we had a child and two adults who were here during the poisoning when Caroline was poisoned, and they've shown the same symptoms back in Belgium. After they arrived, the day after they arrived in Belgium, and they're on the, what do you call it, we're going through the same process of, what do you call it, treatment as us, so it's not imagination. Now there are 7 people contaminated, what do you call it, affected with this position.
Okay.
So that's where we are.
Thank you, Keshe. And I just want to say that Mike Harris has been dropped off the call. We're going to try to get him back on. I'm afraid we're having some difficulty. He's having some interference at his end, and I'm not sure why. So if you'll bear with us here, I will try to get him online here. So one moment here.
No problem. Oh, he's back on.
Okay, let's see.
Okay,
Mike, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Carrie. I can see you now. Let me try to...
In terms of the attacks, and then let's get into what new information you're coming forward with.
Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you could be or wherever you are. We have open situation at the moment where what some people would like to say, silencing scientists for the advantage of those who would like to benefit by their discoveries and their work. This is part of the process we have been explaining for a long time, and this is where we stand at the moment.
Okay. Do you want to describe what has been happening in any detail for the listeners? Perhaps there are some people out there who can even come forward and attempt to protect you. You are in Italy. Is there any description in more detail that you can give them as to your attackers or how this is transpiring?
What has happened is fundamentally we left Belgium through harassment and attack on me and more or less on my family. And we literally left Belgium with 3 suitcases, as a lot of people know, about nearly 2 years ago, 18, 20 months ago. We settled in Italy, carrying on with the rest of our work, as usual, as a research and development in space technology. And we established what I call a teaching program, what we call knowledge seekers, to transfer the knowledge to others. And at the same time, we started a teaching program, teaching live stream with knowledge seekers courses or sessions. And we accepted certain knowledge seekers to join us, some 8 of them. And in the process, what we assume, and what not assuming, but what we see is one of the knowledge seekers was more or less employed by the Belgian authorities to poison. And what we have shockingly come to understand in past 24 hours is that this gentleman, according to himself, to the knowledge seekers, has a terrorist record being kicked out of South African nation for terrorist activities on behalf of the Belgian government. So, according to him, that's his word. So we brought in a bee in the nest, and we just received the blood test, or what we call the hair and tissue of the nail and my mustache, and the body hair tested in Germany, independent laboratory. The result came in yesterday or the day before. And according to the doctor who was sitting right in front of me, who diagnosed the original poisoning, I should be a glowing nuclear reactor. I've been poisoned with heavy metals. Now we have data. A huge amount of materials have been transferred in a way that a normal person doesn't consume these kind of things. It shows in the body mass. And strangely enough, these gentlemen from Belgium has cleared his table before anybody knows. And the day before the last, what do you call it, teaching, decided to return back to Belgium for a week holiday, and that day my wife got poisoned heavily, very badly, and more or less the papers were at the position where he was sitting. And these papers out of nowhere I was using to write and teaching on the live camera. And strange enough, when we checked the lab, after 8 months of being in the lab, there is nothing left. So they probably knew they'd never come back. Indications are heavy that